Chapter 11, 1971, Homeless. With Mother gone, Dad turned his cruelty toward Roy. He would insult Roy and call him hateful, ugly names. It hurt him, and it hurt us to have to see it. Dad began throwing Roy out of the house by age 13. It did not matter that it was dead of winter. He did not care where Roy slept. He did not care that Roy had nothing to eat. And he did not care that Roy sat in the school field at night, crying with a broken heart as he watched the lights from his home that he could not enter. One chilly morning I found him asleep on the couch wearing his faded jeans with his large hands tucked under his arms for warmth. Retrieving a blanket from the back room, I covered and tucked him in. In sad contemplation, I considered what kind of life his life was. He lived like a hunted animal on the run, and he behaved as if he deserved nothing but the scraps of life. Some nights Roy would be so hungry he would tap on our bedroom window and beg us to sneak him some food out of the house. Meanwhile, he would go back to the school halls to wait for us with his meal. We were always climbing in and out the windows in those days, especially if our dad sat in the living room. Finally, being caught asleep once again, Roy was completely forbidden from the school. He had no choice but to begin sleeping in the woods. On the really cold nights, he would tap on our window and ask for one of the few blankets we had. Then he would trek out to the woods to sleep on the cold, hard ground. There were nights when temperatures went below freezing, and the brother that I loved was not safe at home with us. I felt guilty and hated my father for what he did to our brother. Somehow, and I suspect it was another alien intervention, someone, it had to have been an adult, built a real one-room clubhouse in the wooded area right near us. Maybe they gotten inspired to build it for their boys, but it was perfect for Roy. And it's highly possible this person in the neighborhood was also an abductee. Roy didn't have to sleep out in the rain or snow anymore. There is no doubt that many nights he was picked up from the ground by the Greys. They would find him wherever he was. Implants allowed for this, like a GPS system. And implants allows them to know when a person is sick due to vital signs, including knowing when life has ceased. Out of respect, no matter how our dad treated him, Roy wanted his dad to accept him. He only hoped that with time, he could slip quietly back into the house, and generally, this is what he would do. As a teenager, Roy had grown quite tall and large. Once, he and our dad got into a tussle in the hall. I don't remember what triggered it because very few words were said. All of a sudden, Roy took off out of the house. I suspect our dad pulled out his knife, which he carried in his pocket at all times. He even slept with it under his pillow. Roy had only 3 lifelines: our fraternal grandmother, an aunt, and later, our mother. The other relatives shunned us. We were the black sheep of the family, both because we had the misfortune of being born to our father and because we did not have the comforts they had. We would never amount to anything, they would say. Even our cousins shunned us, being held up as the bad example. Roy, especially, was held up to scorn and unjust vilification. Although over 6 feet tall as a teenager, Roy was really just a hurt and confused boy inside. He did not understand why he was here or what the world expected of him. It was a cruel world, that he knew. Life and people were a mystery, and he held each one in regard as if only they knew the truth. He was actually very naive and easily taken advantage of despite his size. Other boys made sport of him. That is until one day, roaring like the Incredible Hulk, he picked one boy up over his head and began spinning him around. He finished up by tossing him into the bayou in front of everybody. One sunny day I came out to sit on the porch. A row of bricks set deep into the ground provided one with a path the short distance from the drive. Our porch consisted of 3 concrete steps set upon each other. Between the porch and the top step was a crack. Something inside caught my eye, and peering in, I saw a Polaroid photo of Roy. Using my feet, I pushed the top step open enough to reach in and retrieve it. Having been the only part exposed to the sun, the left side of Roy's face was melted and warped. The other side of his face was unaffected. I could sense I was being watched from above. It is highly probable that the aliens planted it there, and that's not just me being paranoid. I had not seen this photo before, and it worried me that one side of his face was misshapen in this horrible way. I sure hope nothing like that really happens to Roy, I thought. My mind went upwards to those I felt watching, whoever they were, and in protest I held up the photo and ripped it into defiant shreds, hoping to break any spell. It didn't work. One day some friends came over and we all went into the woods. We hiked pretty far out to a mound of dirt 12 feet high behind a barbed wire fence. We were having a blast climbing the hill and running down. We would play King of the Mountain, where you would struggle to stay on top and keep others off. We weren't being rough, just laughing. I had made a descent when I suddenly became ill and lay out on the ground as clamminess and nausea washed over me. Probably weak from hunger, I decided. Can't remember the last time I had eaten. A worried Roy asked Judy to get me home. He apologized profusely for not helping, even though he knew he should. He expressed fear of entering back into the woods and promised to check on me later. He didn't want me to think he didn't care. He seemed to know what would await us there. Injuries and illness are fertile grounds for alien abductions. As soon as Judy and I got under cover of woods, we were picked up by the Greys. Judy, on another table across the room, got a quick cursory assessment. The beings tried to find out what was wrong with me, but were stumped. One asked what I thought was wrong. I replied in thought that I had not eaten. I was given the impression that they expected food to be everywhere, and all I had to do was find it and eat it. Why didn't I just go out and get food? Shaking this notion from mind, I explained that I was not old enough yet to work and get money to buy the food. Then they understood their error. The reference to available food came from an earlier time in human history and was not an accurate reflection of today's society. It shows how long these aliens have been around. The beings decided they would see to it that I would always have enough money for food. They acknowledged each other before assuring me that this did not mean a lot of money, but just enough that I could have food. Judy and I appeared back at the house with no memory of any detour taken. A few days went by, and true to ritual, I had made my woeful rounds through empty cabinets and now stood staring into a bare refrigerator. Our tightwad dad was sitting quietly on the edge of the couch, deep in thought. He reached around for his wallet, opened it, and began fishing around inside. Still at the refrigerator, I stood fixated, awaited his next move. Watching him, he seemed to struggle against a force that was causing him to hand over his money against his will. With a voice from somewhere far away, he offered me a few dollars to go buy something to eat. Thus began a pattern of small change eked out here and there. I want you to know that recounting these experiences, especially discussing Roy, has caused me to have nightmares. I'm fighting snakes, trying to keep them from biting me, and I'm trying to hide from large predatory cats. I can barely move in my dreams, and I'm calling out to my husband for help. I've had tearful, angry fits during the day, but at least I'm self-aware enough to know why. I've become weak in my stomach. My chest has become tight and my breathing shallow. I feel like crying and my eyes sting with unshed tears. But this is a story that has to be told. Judy has been so affected that she can't read my book. She is adamant. If it has to do with Roy, I can't read it. I place it squarely on my father's shoulders. He is deceased now, and if there is a hell, he's in it. This